Hey, this is Jeff Justice with Jeff Justice Seminars for Court Reporters, and we are delighted that you picked us to get some of your online CEUs with. So, you notice now you probably got a PDF. Go ahead and print that out so you can follow along with it with the course here. And at the end, you can scan it or send it back to us, or just put the answers into an email and send it to us. And we will get you your answers back and your score back right away and take care of getting you your CEUs. So, get ready to laugh and learn with Jeff Justice Seminars for Court Reporters.
Y'all about ready?
Yeah.
Let's continue on. And you've got slightly less than an hour, and then you won't see my face for a while. I won't go eat with y'all. I'll go wake up my husband and make sure he's let the dogs out. Actually, I'm calling to check on the dogs. But I've quit talking to them on the phone. I read...
You don't want me to laugh?
No, I just assumed everyone talked to their puppies. They both get traumatized when I'm gone, and that's because of me. I talked to somebody that said, it's your fault. When you leave, you hug them and go, oh, my babies, I'm going away. And that, that terrifies them. And so now I just pat them on the head, Mama gonna go to court, like I do when I'm leaving for just a few hours. And some of you are thinking, that's crazy. I'm their mommy. Don't you know that? And I quit calling them because I'm not there, and there I am hollering to them on the answering machine, Dee Dee, Taz, how are my babies? Now where's Mama? So I'm traumatizing them. So now I just pretend that, so if Lee doesn't answer, I just don't leave a message and wait till he does answer. And then ask him if he was out with an 8. No, I'm no. He was in the back with his N-scale trains, or am I being naive? Actually, I know I'm not. During the break, a reporter in this group asked me about special rates, giving special rates. I would like to find out if it's an issue in any of your states. In Georgia, okay, for officials, the amount you can charge for transcripts and for us for takedown fees, although that clearly doesn't apply to some of you, is set. There is a rate the state says you can charge, and that's what we charge. A couple of you are nodding. Some of you are going, But you got to, I'm not telling you what your rules are because I don't know. You just got to know what your rules are. In deposition work, it is up to the firm what they charge for everything. And, most charge within a few, 50 cents of one another. It's all about the same. This court reporter was saying there are issues with people undercutting, which I find tacky. It doesn't help the profession. If you say, I'll do all my depositions for 10 cents a page, you're never going to get good employees. If you run a firm, then you're doing that. And you may get all the business in the world, but you're not going to make any money. Doesn't help you, doesn't help other people trying to earn a living wage as reporters. So it's not my business, but I just find that tacky, and would not recommend doing it, though take it or leave it. But in Georgia, you are no longer permitted, and that we had a big problem. We've got a big problem right now. It is a misdemeanor if it is found out that you are charging special rates. Let's say you've got an attorney you really like. For instance, we used to have an attorney that was an employee attorney in workers' comp cases. They don't make a lot of money, but he brought us a lot of work. And we would charge him almost nothing for transcripts because we'd pick it up from the employer. And Connie had to stop that because she shouldn't have been doing it to begin with. And I'd hate to talk bad about someone who's no longer with us that taught me everything I know, but that was just a mistake she made early on when she opened her business. And she was just trying to, get started and get clients. And did a great job getting clients, but you cannot give special rates. You've got to charge, you decide your rates, but you've got to charge everybody the same. And if you don't, it is now a misdemeanor in Georgia. You can be charged for it. Probably not a misdemeanor in any other state, but right now what has happened is we've got a former court reporter. He is retired. His daughter, and I believe now his granddaughter, are reporters. And he is buying up every firm he can find in Georgia. He wants a monopoly. And because he's not a reporter, he is doing things like, for every 3 depositions, you get 1 free. Oh, thank y'all for groaning. God bless you for groaning. I just find that awful. He hires his assistants, and many of his reporters are, and a lot of y'all are cute young things, so don't take this as disparaging about you, but he hires cute young things as assistants, and they'll go in and bring, with a new client, bring them a basket of muffins, you know, to the front desk, and just do ooey gooey things. I don't know if y'all noticed this about me or not, but I'm not much of an ooey gooey person. I'm emotional and sentimental and nice, but I ain't ooey gooey. I do a job, I try to do it to the best of my ability, want to get paid for it, there you have it. And I think if I go much beyond that, I start losing my mind. And I don't know, I hope it wasn't here, but somewhere I was told after the workshop I had stepped on a bunch of toes and should never come back. So if I'm stepping on your toes, I'm not sorry. I just think it's tacky, tacky, tacky. And beware that you're not violating, I think you're violating some ethical canons, but be careful that you're not violating any rules that apply to court reporters. I don't think it serves you well. In Georgia, if you give more than $25, like as Christmas gifts per person a year, you can lose your license. So I give, and no more than a certain amount for the whole year. But they have had to change a lot of things. He was giving chances to win ski vacations. I mean, just, some of the rest of you find that just abhorrent and tacky. And now that's not the way that's not business. You know, that's carnival. And it's fine. I mean, carnivals are nice and fun, and lottery's nice. I play the lottery. I want to win. I like to gamble. I like gifts. But I just, there are not that many images of court reporters in the world. How many TV shows are based on court reporters? The only one I can think of is one that's off the air now. It was called Night Court. Anybody remember that? Harry Anderson, who's a magician, comedian, and the court reporter was a ditzy gal. That was the image. Kind of flighty, cutie pie, flighty gal. And that's the, you don't normally see images of court reporters portrayed in TV, do you? So the image people are getting of court reporters is some fluffy little thing bringing muffins in a basket. That's not a good image of our profession. So, end of 2 cents worth. But keep in mind that if you charge different rates, you can get in some real trouble. Page 6 is just a sample invoice. I don't know if this applies to any of you, but if you'll look at just one thing on it, then I'm moving right on. Right above the total due, you see in parentheses, original and 1 copy. Notice there's no comma after Jennings and my judge's name. Original and 1 copy filed in the civil court, because it is up to me, and this is our rule, may not be your, you may give the original to the attorney. In depositions, the original goes, in Georgia goes to the attorney, but you need to know your state's rules. But the court reporter files the original and 1 copy in Georgia in all the courts. And I always make a note that I filed it and where it is, and I just put it on the invoice. And it's just a good place to do it. Okay, let us move forward on to research. Page 7. My favorite, your favorite. Somebody nodded. Thank you, Patty. You just nodded to be nice, didn't you? You like research?
I like looking things up.
I do too, obviously. Why would I put this in the ethics section? Anybody have a clue? Because you can get in real trouble asking the wrong person at the wrong time for the information. That's why it's here. Be careful. I jokingly said early this morning about, you know, watching your timing and being professional in a deposition. In court, there's really no issue. You got a jury there. You're not going to be interrupting to get spellings. I mean, that just goes without saying, doesn't it? And both of my judges are very good. I give them the skunk eye. They will ask someone to spell something. Not the skunk eye, but I kind of look up at them. And again, that's one of the, for those of you that have ever thought of becoming an official, I'm not going to go, it's the best. I mean, there are issues with being an official, but one of the great things is if you've got a good judge and a judge you respect and the two of you get along, it's a wonderful life. Judge Jennings will say, you both can't talk at the same time. It gives my court reporter a headache and I won't have it. And when someone says it hurts here, the judge will say, my court reporter cannot estimate. Please indicate exactly what you mean. Yay! He is so record sensitive. And part of that is us working together and developing that relationship. But part of it, he's just a great guy. And I think in his 17 years on the bench, Lord knows, 20, wow, he's been there. He's getting old. But I think he's only been overturned a couple of times on appeal. He knows his law. He's good. He's well respected. He's a wonderful man. Judge Allen, our presiding judge, not the chief judge, I work for two, is funny, would give you the shirt off his back. Sadly, he thinks he's a comedian, and every now and then will say things in court that I cringe about. But do I take him out of the record because he's the high judge? No, I don't. If he says it, it's going in the record. Unless it's clearly, how about them dogs? Saw your wife at lunch the other day. All of you have been reporting long, most of you have been reporting longer than I do. You're seasoned enough to know what is just chatter. That's almost background noise. Versus what, because of the way it's said and where it falls in answers, you've got to put on the record. But be careful about when you ask questions and of whom you ask questions for research. I've been told I'm a real fuddy-duddy about this. I'm not going to change. If you do it differently and it works for you, they're your clients, it's your signature, your firm, your judge, whatever your situation, you do what works for you. But just, you know, sometimes you'll be reporting and you go, wow, if I could clarify that right now, it'll make the transcript so much better. You know, you can kind of see in your mind's eye how the transcript will look as you're reporting. You go, uh-oh, that's going to look funny in the transcript. Don't blurt out at that moment. Be careful about getting overexcited about fixing it right then. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. On page 7, I'm not going to do a whole lot with this because you can read it. I don't need to read to you. It's your job to do the research. It ain't nobody else's. There are some things that you can only get from the deponent. Family names, names of puppy dogs. Well, they might be in a yeah, I've had them in depositions. My least favorite are company names. People that have, you know, that they have a company, but it does, it's doing business as such and such, but the company name is a combination of the first 5 initials of their 5 grandchildren. You know, and you're either calling the Secretary of State for the registered trademark, and you get junk like that. Nobody's going to really be able to help you but that person. But if you were doing a medical deposition and the doctor says, I gave him I prescribed Xanax for his anxiety. How do you spell that? Dumb. It makes you look dumb to the doctor and dumb to the attorneys. That is something you ought to be looking up, and you can. Now, to help you do your research, try to get as much information as you can everywhere you go for depositions. Exhibits. Don't forget exhibits. I have stupidly been known to work like a fool trying to find something when if I just looked at the exhibit, it would be there. Be careful though, the caveat there is not every exhibit is accurate. Do not trust police reports. I would get on my knees if I thought I could get up without needing several of you to help me and beg you not to use police reports for spellings. But you've got a doctor, ask for a copy of his CV. He's got it. She's got it. And all those funny names when they're trying to establish an expert and they say, Doctor, please tell us any articles that you've written and where they've been published. And suddenly you're off and running and, yes, I did this with Dr. blah, 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 blah from Germany. And you're going, blah, 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 blah. Wonder how that's going to be spelled. It's on the CV. Anybody that's published, that's part of who they are as a professional in any field. They've got it. They don't mind giving it to you. If you end up doing, I talked with someone at one of the breaks who does malpractice and probably works in real specific fields. If you work in a field that is new to you, get records from the companies, anything that they'll give you. Afterwards, after the deposition, talk to the personnel. Somebody that's in the know and knows about the deposition. Don't just call up and say to the receptionist, your company's being sued by one of your former employees for sex discrimination. Can you please give me this information? Don't do that. I know reporters who do that. And suddenly the receptionist at the front desk, who knows everybody, has emailed or text or whatever, what's that, Twitter. I sound like a little strange bird. This stuff they do, and can't spell, don't get me started on it. We're going to raise a new generation of non-spellers with texting.
Yeah. Making their own language.
Making it their own language. And I've had people say it's good for the language. No, it isn't. Toys R Us, it's that same, stop it, Sue. Deep breaths. I'm all right. I'm all right. I am the grammar police. It's terrible. But everybody in the company is going to know about a sex discrimination suit, and probably that little bit you told them is going to be amplified. Watch your mouth. It's like I said about professionalism and not gossiping when you're in a restaurant. Be careful who you're talking to. We did a series of depositions on chin implants and silicone and silicon. Boy, I was good in chemistry, but I never thought I'd need that knowledge ever again in my life. It was real funny. Our scopist, that was my girlfriend Mia, who had not become a reporter at the time. After we did all those depositions with chemical terms, the next deposition we did was of a gal whose first name was Ethel, and she spelled it E-T-H-Y-L. She made it look like instead of like the E, she made it look like a chemical term because we were just so full of it. But we got the taking attorney to give us copies of everything he had done on discovery to get paperwork together. I did a series of depositions on railroads. Their terminology, now that my husband sells N-Scale, I know all the lines and all kinds of stuff about them. to trucking, huge trucking cases. You know, they'd go, I took a deadhead back so I didn't need a lumper. I took a deadhead back so I didn't need a lumper. Anybody got a clue? Deadhead, I'm thinking 60s, Grateful Dead, Miss Jerry Garcia wants some Cherry Garcia ice cream. And my mind does go to the desserts eventually, it doesn't take long. A deadhead means that you are coming back without a load. That's called deadheading. And I would hyphenate it. You take a two-word noun, turn it into a verb. Those are hyphenated. And a lumper are guys that hang around the truck yards and unload trucks. I called the personnel manager of the firm who had set up the depositions and said, look, there are a bunch of terms here. He said, you know, I've got a list of definitions and terms.
Glossary. A glossary. You gotta have a glossary.
Ask for it. It will save your life. And again, some of these terms of art for a firm, you're not going. You might find online, you might find in a book somewhere, but in many cases, there's just an informal language of the field, and you're really not going to find anywhere. If you are doing a deposition or court work and you're into the world of gangs, your best friends are narcotics investigators. Get to know them. I went into the store and got a Lucy. Anybody got a clue? You're so smart. A single cigarette. Not L-U-C-Y.
O-S-I-E.
Right. A Lucy means some stores will sell you one cigarette. A loose, spell loose, and then I'd add a Y to it. I wouldn't even worry about looking in a slang dictionary. But narcotics investigators, other investigators, if you've got a gang task force, that's great. But narcotics investigators do phone surveillance, you know, where they have an informant call and set up a drug deal. And the drug people, and that's a gang association many times, they are going to change their terms because they know that they could be being surveilled by phone. So they're going to change their terminology. And the job of a narcotics investigator is to know what they're talking about. I'm going to Atlanta to re-up. I hear re-up and I think about signing up for another term in the military, don't you?
Yeah.
Re-up means to go to their supplier to get more drugs to bring to their city. Re-up, R-E-U-P, no hyphen. But again, kind of know some good sources. Or if it's a specialized series of depositions, get as much information you can from a proper source. Be careful with the use of the internet. And for those of you who've heard me speak before, I've got to do this story. You may take a quick nap because enough of you haven't heard me speak before. I've run into reporters. This is not as bad as saying all I do is spell check. That takes care of everything. But I've run into reporters that assume somehow they can get out of spending time to do research by using the internet. They think they know how to spell something. They type it in. If they see it come up, they feel vindicated. Yes, I was right. And they go about their business. You have got to go to a reputable site. When I say a reputable site, how is site spelled? S-I-T-E. We'll be doing homonyms before the end of the day. I can't help myself, I promise. I love my homonyms. Well, homonyms can make you look stupid real quick. Because you're reading as you're proofing, you're saying the word out loud. Homonyms are words that sound alike, it's easy. Especially if you're tired and are trying to hurry to finish before your deposition or before going to bed. and or before going out for your dinner date, or before you play with the puppies. So it's easy to make those kind of errors, but it's always going to be something that everybody that gets the transcript will recognize as a boo-boo. So I like to always end workshops with that. But when I developed my home study course, one of the examples in my homonym section I did was just desserts. I did a list of sentences, you know, homonyms. Please correct the following if needed. I'm going to write for a second just to do something different. Don't fall. And that was that's what I put in the in the home study under just desserts, because that's how I'd always spelled it. English degree, perfect SAT scores in English, Duke University, Queen of the World, Sue McDuffie. And okay, I charge people money to take the home study course, so I figured, you know, maybe it'd be good to look it up just to make sure. So I went to the dictionary, because that is old lady English teacher, go to the dictionary, and I looked up, not just, but I looked up dessert, D-E-S-S-E-R-T. And if you've got a dictionary, you know, little paperback ones are pleasant, but you really need a decent one. A decent one gives you obviously all of the meanings, but will also give you examples and sentences. And unless you remember your transitive verbs and gerunds and adverbial, conjunctive adverbs, you know, unless all of that immediately comes to mind. It does for me, but hey, it's been a couple of years since some of you, not saying you're over 20, but it's been a little while since some of you have been in school and learned that. So unless you remember that, it's great to see it in a sentence to know that that's the correct usage of it. I looked up dessert, spelled this way without the S on it, and I found all my yummies that I like. I did not find an example with just desserts in it. And I thought, wait a minute, Sue McDuffie, Queen of English, Grammar Police. I know that's right. That's how I've spelled it all my life. Ego, listen to that. Pride goeth before a fall, I read somewhere. And boy, is it the truth. So I looked up dessert with one S in the middle. And there it was. That's how just desserts is spelled. I assumed that... Exactly. I assumed that it meant like going to bed without your dessert. You've been a bad boy, no cake for you. And again, that's my food orientation. Everything I tell you is meant for some reason, folks. And so that was just my assumption. I never bothered to look it up because I'm the queen. I knew everything. I think I've looked up everything ever since that happened. I mean, even words I know. That did it for me. It comes from the French, the same root for deserve. And it means to get what you deserve. Now it makes perfect sense, and now you'll never forget it. Yes, ma'am.
I was in a car one time, and I was stuck in traffic, and there was a bumper, a tag frame, and it said, eschew obfuscation. So I said, what language is that in? This is a long time ago. So I wrote it down on a little piece of paper. I went home and I looked it up. Eschew means avoid.
Avoid, absolutely.
Obfuscation means confusion.
Right.
And they were both on a civil service test a month later.
Ah.
Uh-huh.
Eschew. I'll never say it right. Now I can't say it.
Eschew obfuscation.
Thank you. Uh-oh. I need a break.
E-S-C-H-E-W. Obfuscation.
E-S-C-H-E-W.
Right. And I was stuck in traffic. I had nothing to do, and I sat there and I looked at the bumper and I said, "What is this fool doing?" And I wrote it down.
I remember that from the SATs, getting ready to take the SATs.
It's always on a test. It never fails.
Yeah. And what is it? Hirsute. H-I-R-S.
E-S-C-H-E-W.
H-I-R-S-U-T-E, meaning Harry. That's on, whatever that word is, I'm spelling it wrong. That means Harry, that's on them too. Again, this is where working and learning words. And let me compliment you. You looked it up. You didn't just go, "Isn't that bizarre?"
Okay, that means avoid confusion. But he's confusing everybody by putting that sticker.
I kind of want that bumper sticker. I like that. That fits me. But
avoid confusion.
But my point is, never assume. I don't care how much you. I don't care how much you think you know. Be careful. Unless you have looked it up, do not assume that just because I've spelled it that way all my life, I've got to be right. And I did a workshop in Georgia. This gal, queen of court reporting, the best reporter in the world, sat on the front row, dressed to the nines, classy lady, teaches an ethics workshop that makes me cry. She's so good. And she screamed, "Oh no," when I did this. "You're wrong, Sue, it's with 2 S's. I went, "It really isn't." Now, go online and type in, not right now, please don't pull out your little tweet thing, I don't know, iPhone, iPads, iSomethings. Don't pull them out. iSomethings, yeah. Clearly, I'm barely literate. I put pictures of things on eBay for my husband. We can do that. But look up Just Desserts the way I first spelled it, with the 2 S's in the middle. And it's going to be there. And it probably will be, there'll be a bunch of listings with that spelled correctly. If that's all you do, thinking that research is, you type it in the way you think it ought to be, and you're going to be correct. If that's all you're doing, you're going to be wrong. But why is it there? Paula Deen's first cookbook, Just Desserts. It was a book about, anybody know who Paula Deen is? You got to with your judge from Savannah. Paula Deen has a cooking show. Paula Deen could be one of our sisters. She looks like us. And she somebody once carved her face in butter. And she licked it. She loved it. And she always puts a little mint on her chocolate mousse going, "You gotta have your greens, darling." I just love her. But anyway, and her restaurant, she has a restaurant in Savannah her sons now run called The Lady and Sons, and it really is a wonderful restaurant. And her life story about how she got to be where she is really fascinating too, but I like the lady. But anyway, her first cookbook was called Just Desserts. Well, and what a great play on words. I love that. But because Amazon.com sells everything and probably runs the internet and we just don't know it, it's going to be one of the first, it's going to be listed there. And if you think just because you type it the way you think it ought to be and you see it anywhere that it's correct, you're thinking wrong. And keep in mind, that 14-year-old that writes to my husband, "You charge me $10 for shipping, what's up with that?" That person's got a blog and they can't spell because they use texting, or they made up that new language we were just talking about. Be careful. Make sure you go to a reputable site. NCRA, NVRA, both of them link good sites. If you look up Georgia Court Reporters, the Court Reporting Association, thanks to Connie, has links to good reputable sites for medical and some other things. I bet other places do too. Other court reporting associations do too. I'm not saying don't use the internet. I use it. I like it. It is a lot faster for certain things than dragging down my old dictionary, but that, I will always be dragging that thing down. I love my dictionary, but be careful. Don't assume that you can get away from, you can make research easy by just typing something in, and if you see it there feeling like, well, if it's there, it's got to be right. It could be anything. Be careful with that. I know I've talked about that way too long, but that is a huge problem I'm seeing. in my section on research in my home study, people are writing me notes. You're going to think it's this way, but I found it this way on the internet. Yeah, on some site written by some 10-year-old little girl. You never know. And even sites with people that you think, Wikipedia is very dangerous. I had someone in Illinois go, Wikipedia has everything. Yeah, written by anybody. And unedited. I know if things are really wrong or are real offensive that they say within 24 hours they'll get them off. But within that 24-hour period, you probably have picked it up, if you're me, and gotten the wrong thing. So just be careful with that. Phonetic. This is on page 7, number 7, if you're trying to vaguely follow along. The word phonetic, and I use brackets. If you use parentheses, that's fine. This is just a stylistic difference. Some states say how you've got to do it, but for parentheticals, I do a lot of case citings, and in Georgia, for our courts, a lot of the citings will be like 24.3.1.549 in. So I've got a bunch of parentheses that are in case citings, so I use brackets for parentheticals just to do something different. It's an ease of reading thing. But the word phonetic is what you might use if you're spelling something like it sounds. There are going to be times that you can't find stuff. I have had court reporters tell me, in fact, there's a gal now in Georgia that has been to my workshops that has tried to steal my workshops, only she's one of the people that believes that spell check is all you need. And in her workshop, she teaches, and she asked me about this, and I knew she was, when she was a reporter, she was teaching her staff this, because they told me, Sue, so-and-so does it wrong. But she teaches that phonetic and sick mean the same thing. No, 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 no. Sic, S-I-C, is Latin, and it means thus, T-H-U-S. It is commonly used by editors, like newspaper editors. This is where our usage comes from, where, like a letter to the editor, where the person, they want to print the letter exactly like the person wrote it, or they're quoting someone exactly as they said it. And sic means, is used to mean thus it was said, and it's wrong. We didn't do it. Phonetic means I spelled it like it sounds. I ain't vouching for how in the world you spell it. I try to use each of them as little as I can get away with, but there are times when, especially with a date, you absolutely know the wreck happened in 2008. You know this. You've got the paperwork. You've got the police report. July 1, 2008. You know, name of parties involved, cars, location. This is the one they're talking about. And the attorney says 2009. I put what they say, and I put sick after that, because that looks for all the world like my fingering error, doesn't it? Someone says, I used to work for that letter bump company out of Trenton, but they went out of business 50 years ago, and I don't know how to spell it. Okay, there ain't going to be a lot of research for the letter bump company. I'm going to spell it like it sounds. I may or may not put phonetic after it. If it becomes an issue and looks important, and it looks like something attorneys will try based on the good work that Sue McDuffie, court reporter, did try to find, I may go back and put phonetic after it. Maybe not. I sadly, in the court that I do, run into people that can't spell their own children's names. I'm thinking about my little doggy. I started to cry early, but Marguerite started to cry too, so I had to let it go. But I could really break into tears thinking about that.
I saw Isaiah spelled, I said, what's the name of your son? He's a 4-year-old child that got hurt. Isaiah, she spelled it on I-S-O-I-A-H. I-A-H. And she's pronouncing it Isaiah. And I had to type it the way she had it on the camera.
Isaiah, yeah.
It was so...
Odd.
Yeah.
But boy, a lot of people can't spell the biblical spelling of Isaiah. But, you know, folks have the right to spell anything the way they want to. That's life, but it's sad not to know how to spell your own child's name. But that, I would certainly put phonetic after it because of, you know, a child's name, you would have to do that. But the name of a company that's mentioned once that they worked at 50 years ago, I'm thinking that might not even be worth it. Nobody would even care. I've been asked if with sick, and this is a good time to mention it, if you put it each time the error occurs in the transcript. And for years I taught no, you know, why clutter the transcript with sick. But I've been told by folks that do federal and superior and Supreme Court and courts of appeal that when things go up on appeal, the whole transcript does not go up. And people are nodding that must be true here. I think it's true in every state. You're not going to get the Supreme Court in New Jersey to read every word of every transcript. They're just going to send up the pertinent parts. And if it's so sick, if it's a real big deal, it needs to be each time it's used. I hate to say that, but it's just safer to do it that way. I mean, it does look junky, but it's not a negative. I mean, it's just the way it was said. And we don't want to, you know, we work too hard to have people think it's our era. But again, I'd get on my knees, make sure you know that it's wrong. Oh, for the love of God, make sure you know it's really an error. Cannot imagine the time of the transcript that I saw. I don't know about you, but if you've got the occasion, and officials do, to see transcripts from other reporters, I know none of you take a look at them and see what a good job they did, do you? No, I'm the only one, right? Everybody does it. You want to see what other people are doing. It's curiosity. You gonna do it. I know it. I do it. But in this transcript, this court reporter, and it was something Jeff said at the very beginning, and he got it from this example. She had put, the attorney had said, that doesn't jibe, J-I-B-E, with what he said earlier. And she had put, that doesn't jibe, sick, with what she said, or he said earlier. That adds dumb to dumber, or something, dumber to dumb, stupid to dumb. Please make sure if you use the word sick that what there is wrong. A lot of people think the expression is jive. That doesn't jive. The expression is jibe. A lot of people say jive. If someone said that doesn't jive with his earlier testimony, that is worth a sick, because that looks for all the world like you either don't know or a fingering error, J-I-V-E. But a lot of people think that's what it is, and she assumed, just desserts, that's what it is. And you know that old chestnut, when you assume you make an ass of you and me, that's not true. You only make an ass of yourself. So please be careful with your assuming. But that, you know, to take the time to put sick after a word that's absolutely correct. Oh, does that make some of you cringe? Yes. Let's, before we go to lunch, go to page 8, and we're going to do a couple of exercises together. I've written something here on the side that this morning when I woke up, I got up at 5:30 to make sure I was awake and alert and get ready. And I looked at this note, and I couldn't read it at first. But a court reporter gave me a real funny in Chicago. She said all throughout the deposition, the witness kept saying, we had to nip it in the butt. You like that, don't you? The expression is nip it in the bud. Diane, you've come in at an odd time. You're going, if someone walked into this room, they'd go, what the heck are these people doing? But I just thought, she said, would you sick that? I said, yeah, I sadly would think I would, you know, unless you've got a dog and it's a case of dog bite. You know, I think I would sick that. I like that. Look at number 5. On page 8. Everybody with me? If your neighbor isn't, help your neighbor. Be generous of spirit. Give out all the ingredients in the recipe. This happened to me shortly before I developed this workshop. Thank you for groaning. Okay, when I asked him if these were all the drugs in the house, he said no more. And I just tried to say no more without any inflection. And those of you who've ever done depositions or court work with police officers know that a lot of times they have no inflection. They just say one word after the other. Sometimes with inflection, though you got to watch that, you can't always trust it, you kind of get a sense of what they mean. When I asked him if these were all the drugs in the house, he said, no, more. You know, that might give you an idea. But he didn't. He said every word with exactly the same spacing between the word and the same monotone. Didn't have a clue as to what was meant. Now, this brings up a real interesting point. In fact, this does it better than anything I've ever done. And every time I've discussed this in New Jersey, I've had people groan and yell at me. But you're all hungry and tired, so you won't groan and yell. They won't groan and yell, Jeff.
About 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, good. I did this at just the right time, so you won't groan and yell. All right, first of all, does everyone see the issue there? What is the issue? The punctuation will change the definition. How many possible ways of meaning do you have? 3. Absolutely. Most people see 2. Okay. It could mean that he's saying, no, there are more drugs. Come on in and look for them. Or it could mean that he said, I ain't got any more drugs in the house, just this tiny bit of marijuana that really you ought not to charge me for. It's all I've got. Or he could have gone, well, my lawyer didn't say anything else. That's the third one. Now, these is the one that most people miss. First of all, some of us, and I mean me probably, are not good enough reporters that we necessarily would have caught this at the time. So if you don't catch it at the time, whether or not you interrupt is a non-issue. And actually, I didn't catch it. I prepared the transcript, and I went, oh my Lord in heaven. I didn't see it until I did my second proof of my transcript, and there it was on the screen, plain as day. And I just pulled this from the transcript, and I went, what in the world am I going to do? I did what I teach. I went to my exhibits, and there it was in the exhibit. There was a police statement going, he said no more, so we searched the basement. That so told me everything I needed to know. So I punctuated it thusly. He said, I don't use quote marks. And we can talk about that later. Let's not do it now. But if you used a quote mark, it would be a quote mark after said. I put comma, no. I put said, comma, no, comma, more. And of course, if you do quote marks, it would be a comma after, a comma after no, and quote marks around the no more. If you found out, he said no more, so we did not have exigent circumstances, he wouldn't give us any more information, so we left, then it would be just like it's typed. He said no more. And you would put quote marks around it if you use quote marks, if you're quoting what he said, or if you just use a comma to indicate it, or a colon. He said colon. You could use it there. No more says, this is what he said, without a comma. If he said that there are no more drugs in the house. So those are your three options. Okay, let's say you're one of the better reporters than I am, and you're able to immediately see that this is going to be a problem. How many of you would interrupt and ask the witness to amplify or clarify? You would.
I have, I think, on occasions with service. I can't think of.
You have on occasion. How many of you would not? How many of you would let it go and hope you could figure it out later by some means? You might ask him to repeat it. I love that. Asking him to repeat sounds like I didn't hear it, and maybe will alert someone to something. Obviously, one person might interrupt, two people might ask to repeat. The rest of you are ready for lunch and are ignoring me completely. Oh, come on. What's your first inclination?
I just think it's not your job to say what's happening. It's not your job. You're supposed to record exactly what you're hearing. It's like if somebody nods their head. As a court reporter, you're not supposed to say witness nods in the negative or in the affirmative. You're just supposed to write what's going on. So I don't think it's your job to say, are you saying no more or are you saying no, more?
Let me give you, I absolutely agree with you, and I would not interrupt. In this case, I didn't catch it, so it was a non-issue. But for those of you that catch it and can see how the transcript's going to look as you're reporting, and many of you can do that easily, it does become an issue. My caveat is be careful. And in this case, if you do interrupt, one side is going to be thrilled that you made it clear, and the other side may not be so happy with you. And we're on into an ethics issue, which is why this is in the ethics section, because it puts you in a situation where it looks like you might favor one side over the other. Yeah. All you're trying to do is do the punctuation on the transcript. And I've had court reporters in New Jersey argue with me and go, "Bull, Sue. No one's going to think you're interrupting except to get the transcript right." You never know. The attorneys are not our friends. And you never know what they'll use. Let's say that this guy's a big-time drug dealer. They've done a motion to compel, and they've done all kinds of things, and they take out a lot of the evidence. And the district attorney says, "I had this guy. That darn court reporter interrupted. It's her fault." And suddenly you find yourself in district court with your hand raised in a court of law going, "Why did you interrupt?" I'm not saying to be paranoid, but be careful. Now, in a deposition, everybody's friends. You might think it's easy to do. Be careful. You know your clients and I don't. But it is up to the attorneys. And the reason the attorney did not ask another question, in this case it was the defense attorney, was he was thrilled with it being vague. Now, let's say you weren't in my lucky situation of having enough information on a police report that I felt like I could punctuate it for meaning. What do you do with your punctuation? Any ideas? Nothing. Y'all are so smart. Nothing is right. Punctuation marks we put in. It is a way of saying, I know what's meant and I know how to punctuate it, Jack, and look how readable it is. Don't ever want to make a court reporter paranoid about using good punctuation, but keep in mind when you punctuate, that is you doing it. And if anyone challenges you and go, "Well, why in the world didn't you punctuate it?" I could not tell what was meant. There was no follow-up anywhere in the transcript that helped me out. And then what do you do after you say that? God bless you. You shut up. Absolutely right. You're done. You've made your point. And to me, that's the best way to handle it. Not telling you what to do, but that's what I would do. And I think Jeff has something to do now. And I think I'm going to get to go check on my doggies. I bring you Jeff Justice.
Okay, hey, you're done. It's over with. You can go home now. Oh, wait, you already are home because you took a Jeff Justice seminar program online. Good thinking, smart for you. So just go ahead and either email us the PDF or send it in snail mail, whichever way you were doing this. We'll grade it, get it back to you along with your letter of completion. And remember, we have plenty more programs like this, so hopefully you will come to us time and time again when you need your CEUs, okay? Take care. Remember to always laugh more, stress less, and avoid getting burned out. Take care from Jeff Justice Seminars.